Hey, what's up guys, and for today's video I'm going to be going over a bunch of Dracotail techs that you might not know. So the first card is going to be Dracotail. It has two effects. The first effect is irrelevant, the second effect is why I'm going to be talking about it. So it says if this card is sent from the hand to the graveyard by card effect, you can add a polymerization from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So this first like 4 or 5 cards I'm going to be talking about are basically just going to be cards that get value and use as fusion material. So the reason you would play this is that it uses fusion material, your 5 mana or something like that, one of your fusion spells, and then it adds another poly, so it replaces itself. Kind of similar to like Shaddoll Beast or whatever, which I'll play before. My opinion on this card is, I don't think searching a poly is that good, because searching a poly kind of requires you to have a bunch of other stuff, like other monsters going. But, you know, it does have some value, and it is a dark, so that is important. If you play like Shaddoll Beast, you can make window with it, so there's that. The first effect says when a card or effect is activated that targets a fiend or a fusion monster you control, or when a fiend or fusion is targeted for an attack, you can discard this card and target one of them until the end of the turn. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, so that could come up, but you're not really going to play it for a battle phase effect. Moving on, our next card is going to be Night Armed Dragon, the Armed Night Dragon. So basically, if you don't know what this card does, it's another fusion material. The graveyard effect says if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a dragon monster you control. It gains 100 attack, 1000 attack, and then neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. So how would you use this card? Like the Dark Rebo, you use this as fusion material, summon like an Altharion, and then you do like Chainlink 1 Altharion, Chainlink 2 like Pan or whatever, and then Chainlink 3 your Night Armed Dragon. And they won't be able to respond to Night Armed Dragon, so all your removal effects are just gonna go through. Honestly, this card is actually really strong going second if you use it as fusion material. The issue with this card, the issue with like the Dark Rebo, the issue with the Shaddoll Beast type cards, is that they kind of need other cards for you to play. They don't really do anything on their own, so it can be a little bit inconsistent sometimes. But this card resolving going second is absolutely crazy. In my opinion, personally, I would not run it, but I've seen more people talking about it recently. I saw it in the OCG, like when the deck first came out. It's okay. Next card, obviously, I'm not gonna spend too much time on, is Shaddoll Beast. Shaddoll Beast gives you the access not only to make Shaddoll Winda, but also be able to just draw a bunch of cards. And on the same wavelength, you have Cap Shell. So if you don't know what Cap Shell does, it basically is similar to Shaddoll Beast. It's a dark monster. It says if this card is sent from uses fusion material or like sync or link material, you can draw a card. So it's basically like another Shaddoll Beast. Something I've seen people do is they might play like both Beast and Cap Shell just to draw they draw them together. They can draw like multiple cards in a turn. It's okay. I think people have kind of in the TCG at least have moved away from the Shaddoll Beast angle, but I think in the future it could see play. The next tech card I want to talk about is Keldo and Mudora. So these cards are kind of like fusion material type cards too. The issue with these cards right now is that in a vacuum, using a Keldo as material, it's not that bad. The issue is just that they're not really great disruption against any of the meta decks, but I can definitely see a world in the future where depending on the deck you're playing against, like these cards just see play. You know, I think some people played them like Pearly as like an example. But yeah. So for the next group of cards, they're gonna be cards that let you fusion summon. First card is gonna be Lunalight Black Sheep. So I know what you're thinking. Why is Lunalight Black Sheep here, right? We're not playing Lunalight. It's funny, it's not the only Lunalight card on the list, funnily enough. But King of the Swamp and Black Sheep are very similar. So King of the Swamp obviously adds poly, but can use to make like Dragoon, right? Black Sheep also has an effect that adds poly, and also has other effects which aren't really relevant. So you might be like, okay, well, what's the difference between Black Sheep and King of the Swamp? Obviously, King of the Swamp lets you make Dragoon, so that's a plus for King of the Swamp, right? Black Sheep is a dark, so if you do play Shaddoll Beast, it's another way to make Winda. Also, Black Sheep says you can discard this card and then add a poly from your deck to your hand. King of the Swamp says you can discard this card to the graveyard, add a poly from deck to hand. So because it says discard it to the graveyard, you actually cannot activate King of the Swamp under Arclight, you cannot activate it under Shifter, and you cannot activate it under Retaliating Sea. So that would be like the main benefit to playing Black Sheep over King of the Swamp. As for should you play Black Sheep over the King of the Swamp, I think they're honestly really close. I know you're thinking like, well, you can't make Dragoon, but some people who have top regionals aren't even playing Dragoon in their deck. So I think honestly it's very close. It also kind of depends on the rest of your list. So I can't tell you for sure if it's correct or incorrect to play it, because it's going to depend on the rest of your deck list. But I think it is something you should consider. Moving on, we have Dark End Evaporation and Light End Sublimation. These are cards that let you fusion summon, but they do lock you into dragons. Turn 1 going first, that's not really a big deal because you just can't summon Gulimo turn 1, sure, or whatever. Like, you know, I summon Altharion, I summon Seals, you know, I summon like number 38, for example, and it's pretty solid. In my opinion, these cards kind of fit, I think that Dark End is solid, but I don't like Light End. So I don't think these cards are that great in the main deck because they're really bad going second. Because you summon them, and then it's just like, they're ignition effects, right? So it doesn't actually do anything with summon. Very easy for your opponent to interact with. Let's say you're playing against like Yummy. Dracotail Engine is supposed to be really good against the Yummy Disruption, but this card is not really good against Yummy Disruption, as like an example. So I don't think this card is good in the main deck, but I think it's good in the side deck. I have it in my side deck right now, the Dark End. I don't have Light End on my side deck just because that would be like 6 going first cards, but yeah. So I think they have potential, especially the Dark End. Moving on, we have Cartisia. Cartisia is another way for these fusion summon. The benefit of Cartisia is that if it gets stopped, it's a quick effect, so you can do it on the opponent's turn. Also, you kind of get it back in your hand as fusion material. So it gives you more cards to fuse with on the opponent's turn. The negative is that it is another normal summon, so you have to watch out for that. Which might be like, oh, it's another normal summon, so like you can like, even if it gets stopped, you can fuse on the opponent's turn, which is true. But also, it's like, when you fuse on the opponent's turn, you generally are using all your interruption at one point. So when your opponent has extenders, it doesn't really work that well. You can also play Fusion Deployment. I think that card's kind of bad, though, I'm not gonna lie. It plays into more cards, like mainly Fua, and it's not a monster. It's Cartesia's okay. I think a lot of people have played it. Jesse Cotton played it, his YCS list, yada yada yada. Moving on, we have Crowley, the Gifted Magistus. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we didn't get Spoon, but people are still messing around with Magistus cards, funnily enough. Crowley basically lets you on summon, it lets you fusion summon a Magistus or Invoked monster. Other couple good fusions you can summon. This is a normal summon. This is a worse normal summon than Cartesia. One of the main reasons people play the Crowley though is that you can go like Artemis and then summon it's like, I'm looking it up right now. I forget the name of it. The Chorozo. You summon Artemis and you summon Chorozo. Artemis effect equips itself to Chorozo, and then Artemis can search this. So you can actually get to Crowley by just having Dracotail Engine. So some people play 1 of. I've seen some people play 3 of. Personally, I don't think it's worth it as a 1 of, even though it's not like a bad draw per se. Not a terrible draw. It's still overall, I'd say like probably a brick. Also, arguably a brick, but definitely it's a lot of normal summons in the deck, even if you only play the 1. And I think going for the Seals board is still like just as good in a lot of scenarios, so yeah. But I think it's like an option. I think for sure 3 is bad. I think 1 has potential though. I think in some matchups, like the board with like the Magistus fusion, like this guy is definitely better than like Seals. The next card we have is Odd Eyes, Dissolver. This is basically another way to fusion summon. I don't think this card is very good. I think it's worse than the Dark End. Worse than the Dark End. I think it's probably worse than Cartesia. I think it's worse than Kingdom Swamp and the Black Sheep. Don't play this card, please. I mean, going second is bad, obviously, but the going second thing isn't that relevant. Yeah, basically, if you don't know, it has a pendulum effect. During the main phase, you can fusion summon a Dragon Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. It's another card to beast. It's another card to beast Retaliating Thief, so not that pretty cool. But yeah. And then we have Alistair, which is technically can get you to Invocation. This is like the worst normal summon of them all. It loses to every hand trap. At least Crowley doesn't lose to Dominus Purge. Like, do not play Alistair. And then other fusions cards. So Patchwork is another card. Patchwork obviously goes super duper plus. Weaknesses of Patchwork are deck space. Because if you play Patchwork, you need to play Edge Jump and then Poly. It requires more deck space than, even if you play Reduce Engine, it requires more deck space than all the other options. More than Kingdom Swamp, more than the Black Sheep. So that's an issue there. Also, it's like a spell card, so you have less monsters to fuse with. I think Patchwork is pretty decent, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a bit underrated. However, you know, it does have that weakness. Also, but yeah. And then you have Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion went to 2 this last ban list, and it's a pretty solid card being able to send the new guy or girl, Dracotail Frixel, turn 1, so you don't have to discard for Lubellion. I think it gets a lot better in the deck. And then going second, you can send Mululu as a board breaker. So I think Branded Fusion's solid. Solid, honestly. I think it's something you should mess around with, even if you don't play a Branded Dracotail deck. Then we have Shaddoll Fusion. Shaddoll Fusion also gets a lot better in the deck. Because of Frixel, because you can make Construct, and then Construct is just a best fusion to make. But like before in the Shaddoll versions, or like at least like people are playing like a ton of different Shaddoll fusions, which is just like, bro, I'm not trying to play out like 5 different fusions in my extra deck. Like what? but the Shadow Fusion gets a lot better in the deck. I would not main deck Shadow Fusion, I would side it. I've seen some people in the OCG playing like, if they play branded Dracotail, they main one Shadow Fusion, because you can go like Granguignol, send the app clone, grab Shadow Fusion, so you can kind of get access to it without actually drawing it, but that's like in that version. But in general, this is more of a side deck card. I think it's pretty good in some matchups, to be honest, with a side deck. Then you have Pot of Extravagance, which is very playable in this deck. I've actually tested this card quite a bit. I think it's really solid. I would only play 2 of it. I'll play 2 Extrav, 1 Prosperity. I wouldn't play 3 of it because I think 2 kind of gives you enough consistency. And at the end of the day, it is also a spell, not a monster, which is not amazing for the deck. But I think, and like you do draw a lot, so it does actually matter. But I do think the card is definitely playable in the deck. You would just play 3 Altharion, 3 Gulamel. Like, you don't really care about the extra deck like that. So I think Pot of Extravagance is actually really playable in this deck, and it's fine. And then you have some Floodgate cards like Tikaboo, Skill Drain, and Rivalry. So, another benefit of going back to Cartisia, Cartisia has a couple of flex options. So obviously Cartisia can summon Granguignol, right? And Granguignol can actually do a few things. So it can send a level 6 or higher lighter dark from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. So what can you send? So in the thumbnail, I have Lunalight Perfume Dancer, because you can actually send Lunalight Perfume Dancer to the graveyard. And the Perfume Dancer has the graveyard effect that says, you can banish this card from your graveyard. This turn, all monsters your opponent control lose attack equal to their own original defense. So if you look at Liger Dancer is unaffected by card effects except Lunalights. So this will actually reduce Liger Dancer attack to 300, allowing you to easily attack over it. The only thing is, obviously Liger Dancer will still have the pop. So like if you have like a Tharion in the graveyard, for example, a Tharion or Gulamel in the graveyard, they're able to, like, when they pop your board, if you have like 2 monsters or whatever, I mean, when we have monsters, you're able to trigger the fusion in your graveyard, summon itself back out, and still remove the Liger Dancer. This does not work if Liger Dancer is in defense. However, it is correct to put Liger Dancer in defense. Nobody does that. I'm telling you, nobody does that, so I would not be worried about it. Normally, I wouldn't tell you to be like, oh yeah, rely on your opponent misplaying, but I'm telling you, nobody does that. Nobody puts it in defense. There are other ways to bring this card out too. Funnily enough, post-dude, Yummy can actually send this card to the graveyard as well, the Tribe Gate Link 2. Well, the Tribe Gate Link 2 can't send this to the graveyard, but the Tribe Gate Link 2 can send the Link 5, which can send this to the graveyard. I don't think people are going to play it because it requires like 4 extra deck slots. So the Tribe Gate Link 2 has to send 2, so you have to send like Varigit, Link 5, send this, Varigit, draw a card. But like multiple decks can actually use this. This card's also seen some use as like people are talking about like Metal Tronus in the decks before, and Ultimate Slayer to be able to send Perfume Dancer, which only works if it's an attack, but everyone puts in attack by default, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's something you can do. Another way that you can out Liger is you can send like a Kaiju, and you can add it back with Altharion. So you can send like the Dark Kaiju, for example, which I think is probably the best one. You can add it back with Altharion, and then you can Kaiju your opponent. That requires a bit more resources, kind of, but yeah. Something you can also do with that, you can go Granguignol, you can send Nibiru the Primal Being, and you can go add back this with Altharion. I tried to make some combo lines that did this turn 1. I'm not gonna lie, that shit was hard. That shit was rough as fuck. It's just not worth to go for. I'm gonna keep it 100. You have to, cause it's just not that consistent too, because you need like specifically a lighter dark for Cartisia. Oh, also, the Liger stop doesn't really work on the Granguignol plays sometimes, because Cartisia says it's a normal summon. I'm not gonna say it's a normal summon, right? And against Lunalight, the thing is, Lunalight Liger Dancer only pops special summon monsters. So if you normal summon Cartisia, they can't just like pop it. So pretty cool. Yeah. Moving on to other sends, you can send Malong, the synchro. You can also send like Despian Lulu Wallace or whatever. you can also actually not send the Snake Eye, but you can make the Snake Eye, because you can like Cartisia summon a level 8 synchro by using like Altharion or whatever, and then synchro the Altharion in the Blazing Cartisia for a level 12 synchro. I didn't mean level 8, I meant level 12. So it has some utility there, which is pretty cool. For the Dark End Evaporation and the Light End Evaporation Dragon, your main options are going to be, your extra plays are going to be like Seals, and you're like number 38, which is very good, because not only is number 38 a Spell Negate, which is very good in this format, and helps you deal with stuff that your board might not care about, but also is good against, also helps you protect your Seals. You can also kind of play around Droplet too, if you know like Horn plus the Evaporation Dragon. Horn plus the 38, if you like 38, you 38 negate before you flame negate. And if they try to like droplet, then you can just like Horn bounce your 38. which I know seems like neg, because like why are you using your trap to bounce your 38, but like it's like kind of fine because like horn isn't even a great disruption anyway. So yeah. Other tech cards I want to talk about. Oh yeah, Granguignol can also send Garua as well to draw a card, which is pretty cool. It's level 6 dark. Also, another tech card which I've seen some people play, which I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think it's absolutely terrible. I would not play it at all. Is the Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Primal Dragon. So basically, they like search this, and then they summon this, and then if this card is summoned, the owner of this card adds a Tachyon spell and trap from the deck to your hand. So you add like Transmigration, which to be fair, Transmigration is a broken card. So if you control a Galaxy Ice monster, activate as Chain Link 2 or higher. Negate the activations of your opponent's spell and trap cards and monster effects activated before this card in this chain. If you do, shuffle the negated cards on the field into the deck. So hypothetically, if your opponent just did like 5 mana effect, Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, Chain Link 3, Chain Link 4, you can just negate all that, which is like crazy. I'm not gonna lie, like obviously the card is good, but you have to play 2 bricks for it though. Like I don't know, man. I don't think that's that great. I'm not gonna lie, but it is an option technically, so you have that as well. And then here I just have some like random. Oh, real quick, King of the Swamp targets. You have a lot of targets. Your main ones are just gonna be like the Dark Dragoon, and then the Tyrant Dragon if you do play it. Tyrant Dragon be able to reset your trap cards like your Sting, your Horn, your Flame. But yeah, that's mainly it for like the techs, quote unquote. In terms of other, what I wanted to talk about, here I just have some of the variants, which I was going to go more in depth on, but not for today, maybe another video. Also, most of these variants are just trash. Like Dragonmate, trash. Primate, trash. K9, trash. Regenesis, bro, don't get me started how bad this is. Fiendsmith, what's funny, I was, for like a day, a couple of months ago, I was like convinced Mitsurugi Dracotail was crazy. I've kind of changed my mind a little bit, but, or a lot of it, but yeah. Also, I forgot if I mentioned it, but this deck can play all these Floodgates too. I actually don't think these Floodgates are that great right now though, so it's very unfortunate. Or at least like Rivalry is bad. You can play Gozen Match as well. I forgot to add Gozen Match here, but you can play Gozen as well in this deck too. You can play all Floodgates. Because you can just like, you do enough by playing with like one body, so it's like chill. But yeah, the Floodgates are not that great right now though. Because like they're not really great against like Mirror, and Mitsurugi can low-key play through every Floodgate. But anywho, that was it for my tech video. I hope you guys did enjoy. It was a little bit of rambling. I hope you learned something from the video though. And if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. And have a wonderful day. Take care.